Welcome to the STARS program, seniors taking active roles in society. And now, here's your host, Anita Finley.
Joe Karp is on our line, and he's calling in. And Joe Karp, of course, is the elder law attorney that we've had with us for so long. And he, Joe, I have to just compliment you on all those articles for so many years. And I think I mentioned this to you and Debbie before. You ought to get all of them, and you ought to make a book out of it. You have it all there.
I get it. I'll tell Debbie she can do that.
Yeah, I think so. I mean, I think it would be beautiful. And I mean, I don't have I don't have them all online or anything, but we have them, and somehow we ought to do something with it, because your information is so perfect, and so few people could ever write like this and tell people what they need to know. And that's not even you're talking about it. I mean, once someone sits with you and you talk, it's just magic. But I've been thinking a lot about this every time I read your articles.
Good. Well, thank you.
So, people certainly do learn from you. And did you ever think you'd really be a law professor?
No, I didn't think I'd have the patience for being a professor. I like to help people and advise people, and in the process, I discovered the only way to really properly do it is to educate them. But if they have trust in you and faith in you, and you've educated them, even though some of the stuff is beyond their capacity to understand why, and I don't mean intellectual capacity, it's just experiential. They just haven't gone through this, and they say, oh, I thought there was a 5-year look-back period. And I say, well, there is, but certain things don't have penalties. So just because there's a look-back doesn't mean you're excluded. So it's educating, it's talking about, it's telling people things that they don't know. For example, just a simple thing. Too many people believe if you give more than $14,000 a year as a gift, it's an income taxable event to somebody. And it's not. It's merely using up part of your lifetime gift and estate tax exemption. It's not income taxable to the recipient. It's not taxable to the donor until you exceed that $5.4 million. But most people assume it's taxable. The other thing is people think, for some reason, that I should be gifting for tax purposes when most people today don't have $5.4 million and don't need to reduce the size of their estate for estate tax purposes. So they should only do gifting if that's what they're comfortable with and want. And they should understand the ramifications if there's some capital gains issues and stuff like that. But people don't know that stuff. And it's very interesting because it's on a far more sophisticated level than teaching the alphabet or teaching numbers. But it's teaching some estate planning and elder law basics to people who have never been educated on it. And they just have some basic things they've heard from sources that are of questionable reliability or don't give a deeper explanation.
Well, Joe, just like going back to what I just said with the law, the reason I thought you ought to be a law professor is because, as you grow up to be 80 and 90, we need people like you following in your footsteps. There are not many lawyers that do what you do. It's not that they're not smart and that they don't have the information, but it's in the whole presence, the whole ambience, the whole charisma. And I think that would be well served. So put that on one of your bucket lists, okay?
It shall be. Actually, if I taught law students, I'd like to teach them more than teaching them the law. And they don't have courses for this. It's how to understand your clients, how to start to read what their needs are, and how not to throw numbers and concepts at them until you try to figure out who they are, who their family is, what are they trying to accomplish. See where they're coming from. See what their hopes, their fears are. Pull them out. What worries them at 2 a.m? Are they afraid that their son's second wife will get all of the money when he dies, and their grandchildren from his first marriage will get nothing? Are they worried that the cost of long-term care will exceed their ability to survive economically? Things like that. Have they dealt with these issues? What bothers them? And sometimes people have repressed them so sufficiently that you're pulling them out of them. Frequently, I'll have somebody say to me in a consultation, well, I never expected you to ask me that. And I'll say, well, that's my job. I had a lady in yesterday, true story. She came in yesterday with her daughter. Her husband has Alzheimer's, and it has gotten much worse. And they came in because he has to go into a nursing home. She's come to the recognition that if she doesn't put him in a nursing home, she can no longer care for him. He's physically too big. She can't handle that, and she is just overwhelmed by it. Yeah, so well, do you have your estate planning papers? Your wills, your powers of attorney, your trust, do you have any of that stuff? She said, oh, yeah, we met with our lawyer 2 months ago in Vero Beach, and we did them all. I said, well, do you have them with you? She said, no, I didn't think I have to bring them because I just did them. I said, okay. When you die, who gets your money? She said, my husband, of course. I said, well, you just came in here and told me that you want to place him on Medicaid.
Right.
You told me that he's killing you in terms of the way this is wearing you down. Do you think it's possible you'll die before him? She said, oh, yeah. I said, well, why would you leave him all the money and kick him off Medicaid? And her daughter says, didn't you tell the lawyer what was going on, Mom? And she said, yeah. And I said, well, don't blame the lawyer to some degree. He doesn't think about elder law issues. He thinks about traditional estate planning and didn't put on a thinking cap, didn't even ask you where that was coming from. And I find out 2 months ago when her husband had significant short-term memory issues. I mean, he's not totally off the wall, but apparently in the last 2 months he's had some significant degradation. But he's her power of attorney. He's the one making her health care decisions. She said, oh, yeah, how could I have not named him? And I said, not if the lawyer didn't say, do you really think you're up to the task, Mr. So-and-so? And it sounds like her husband was an agreeable person because when I discuss what we do, he's still lucid some of the time. His problems are memory, and now he's having some bowel and bladder control issues as well, and his legs are bothering him, and he has limited mobility. But his brain still knows who his family is, what's going on for the moment. So just people don't think about things they don't think about.
They don't,
but we try to help them think about it.
Well, let's also help them by going to your seminars. I'm going to tell everyone, get your pencils out. Remember, this is Pencil Talk Radio. You will hear the best information on elder law you'll ever want to hear, ever. So just know that you can go on Tuesday, October 6th, from 1:30 to 4 up in Port St. Lucie at the Holiday Inn. That's where they have this seminar of free senior survival workshops. On Wednesday, October 7th, from 1:30 to 4, here in Boynton Beach at the Courtyard by Marriott. Then Thursday, October 8th, from 1:30 to 4, Palm Beach Gardens Marriott. let me read those over again. I really think this is so important. You'd be so lucky to go to these. You have no idea. They're free. I didn't tell you that. They're free. Senior survival workshops. You'll hear about the new tax laws, about all the things that Joe's been writing about for years, and he does that. And he has another associate that does this also. But the work is beautiful. You need to go and hear. Starting off with Tuesday, October 6th from 1:30 to 4, Port St. Lucie Holiday Inn. Wednesday, October 7th, 1:30 to 4, Courtyard by Marriott in Boynton Beach. Thursday, October 8th, from 1:30 to 4, Palm Beach Gardens Marriott. Reservations are not required. Information, if you want to be able to call about anything, their number is 1-800-893-9911. Again, that's 1-800-893-9911. Or better yet, go to their website, which is Karp, K-A-R-P, law.com, karplaw.com, and you will learn everything you need to know. You'll know when the new seminars are coming up. You'll be able to read about Joe Karp and his credentials. You'll be able to see some of their staff. I just cannot tell you how positive I am about Joseph S. Karp, your elder law attorney. So the seminars, they still fill up, don't they? You're amazing.
Yes, they do. We get three groups. We get existing clients who just like to come to hear if we have anything new to say. They enjoy saying hello to me. I love having them show up. And for me, their presence is an affirmation for anybody sitting there that we perform as promised. Because our clients are your neighbors, and they could get up and say, he doesn't do what he says. We perform as promised or better, and I love when the clients show up. We joke about the fact that they come for the cookies and they come for the stale jokes. Then we have people who show up annually that are not my clients, or sporadically who are not my clients, because they want to hear what I have to say, what's new. And frequently, somebody who's shown up 4 times will become a client. When they showed up the first time, it was 2008. In 2015, they're ready to make the move. They know they have to change their estate plan. They hadn't heard any of this stuff from their lawyer. Their life has changed, and now they realize they can't leave their husband with Alzheimer's the money. They can't ignore the fact that long-term care costs are prohibitively expensive for most people. And those people end up becoming my clients, even though they have existing estate plans done by other lawyers. And then we have the people who come for the first time, and they say, wow. So we get a bunch, and some of those people come for the first time, walk out after the seminar, say they enjoyed it, say they liked the workshop, and make appointments, and some of them don't. Some of them are snowbirds, and they are actually not Floridian snowbirds, but they're northeastern snowbirds who only live here 4 months. And we say, well, we're sorry, we're not going to offer you a free consultation, because we give those to seminar attendees whom we think we can help. And I can't do your estate plan while you're a New Jersey resident.
I want to ask you about that, though, Joe. So in other words, a lot of the laws that you are talking about are only good here in Florida for residents. It's different in New York or New Jersey or California?
Well, there's 2 types of laws. First of all, there's the federal estate tax law. That's federal. Then there's state estate taxes. Florida has none. New Jersey has one. New York has one. So those are separate issues, and those should be dealt with by a lawyer in that state if that's where you reside. Then there's the Medicaid laws. There's the general federal law, but then there's a lot of specificity that gives the states a lot of leeway. So the law for Medicaid in Florida is different than the law in New York or New Jersey. For example, a very basic one is Your homestead is exempt in Florida as an asset if the value of the homestead, the equity, is less than $554,000. And if you're on Medicaid and you die and leave your homestead to your kids, your sister, your brother, certain people in the constitutional heirs at law list, if you will, if you do that, Medicaid gets no recovery, whereas in New York or New Jersey, those states get recovery. So there's different rules for each state as it applies to it. My best analogy for that is if you were describing the speed limit on I-95, which is a federal highway. The feds have said, although the states are using a federal highway, Interstate 95, and even though the feds put money in, since the states also put some money into that, they give the states some latitude. So the speed limit on the Cross Bronx Expressway, which is also I-95, is different from the speed limit on I-95 in St. Lucie, which is different than the speed limit even in Delray Beach. So the states have wide latitude with regard to certain things, even though there are some fixed Medicaid numbers and rules. There's also broad latitude. So the rules are different, and they're always a changing target. The other set of rules are the VA benefits for something called enhanced pension or aid and attendance, and that's something that's available for veterans or widows of veterans who have non-service-connected disabilities and medical expenses. So it's not somebody who got shot in or is lost hearing from the war, but just because they are financially strapped and have high expenses. That's a VA rule, and that's a national rule because the VA is national. So if you're in Oregon, New Jersey, Hawaii, or Florida, those rules are the same. But of course, when you're doing your planning, you've got to put in the mix, well, how does that impact on Florida Medicaid or Florida state or gift tax as compared to New York and New Jersey, depending on where you are? It's sort of like diabetics are diabetics or diabetics. But if you're diabetic and you have Parkinson's, maybe it gets treated a little differently because of the nature of the medications that might interact inappropriately. So you always have to put the big picture together with the isolated parts.
So do you work with your clients with a tax attorney?
With regard to estate taxes, we've got it down. We don't have we actually have one lawyer in my office who actually has his master's in law, that's an LLM after the JD, in tax law. So we have one lawyer who does that, is educated in that. But with regard to that, just experientially, we got it down, so we know how to do that. If there's somebody that requires greater sophistication than we have, then of course we absolutely say, this is something we can't handle. So,
and are you still seeing people who think because they have a will that they're okay?
The answer is yes. I see people who don't understand why the will not avoid probate. But if they come to the workshop, they start to hear that stuff. That's why we say, come to our workshop. Then we'll offer you the free consultation if we think we can help you. So, because if you're at the workshop, you should have heard that. Now, we give a ton of information out. We do an information overload. We're not throwing big numbers. We're not saying, well, pursuant to Internal Revenue Code Section 176.32BI, but we're just hitting you with a ton of stuff. So that these are concepts that you have to understand exist, and everybody's different. I mean, if we were a doctor, if Dr. Mencia were to do a 2.5-hour workshop on health, and he started at the top of the head, went all the way to the toes, and in between covered body mass, blood sugar, uh, exercise, stretching, exercising your eyes, dental work, what you should be doing, the people would walk out and their heads would be spinning. They don't know where to begin. Well, they then know after that, maybe they ought to begin by going into Dr. Mencia and seeing him or one of his affiliated physicians to say, give me an analysis of where I stand and where I need attention. It's sort of like my article in Boomer Times this month, where we talk about in this month's article that's coming out in the October issue, you got to look at all of the facets. You got to look at everything. And you've got to understand how things pass. I have people who are also shocked when they do a will and they say everything to my 3 children, that if they have an account that's joint with their daughter, she gets it. If they have an account payable on death to their son, she gets it. Notwithstanding, the will says everything's divided in thirds. And some of the people who think that are sophisticated. Some of the people know that it doesn't work that way officially, and they know that their daughter gets it, but firmly believes, oh, my daughter will share that money with her siblings. Well, unfortunately, when you're dead, it doesn't always work out that way. So there's so many facets.
One thing, Joe, too, that Bill and I pay on long-term health care, and we keep getting notices that they say, is there someone else you want us to put on your policy so in case we don't get your payment, that they will be able to watch over it and then you don't lose this? So
Absolutely.
Have you seen that?
Oh, sure. I think that might even be a law that required to do that, so that they do that both with life insurance and health insurance. But I've seen it, and too many people don't avail themselves of it. And I've seen people lose their insurance or make bad decisions that had they said, notify my daughter if I'm late, to send my daughter a copy of the bill and notify her if I'm late, as well as notify me. So many people will come in with their kids when they're talking about Medicaid, and they'll say, my husband and I, when we first moved to Florida, we were 70 years old, we took out long-term insurance. We were paying that for 12 years. So when we got to be in our 80s, when we might need it, we said, this is ridiculous, we're not using it. So we didn't pay the bill. And the daughter will turn to the mother when they're trying to put dad into the nursing home now because he had a stroke and they've got to leave him there or they need some home care. She said, why didn't you discuss that with me? She said, well, it's too expensive. She said, you're sitting here and you've got enough money that you could have covered it. Well, me and my sisters would have covered it. Now look at the boat you're in, Bob. Why didn't we discuss it? So even for that portion, it's worth having. That it keeps it. But also it's because some people neglect to do it. Now this is over 20 years, but I've had 2 people who let $1 million life insurance policies lapse within 3 months of their death because they were too sick to pay the premiums and nobody ever got the notice that the bill was due.
Yeah, well.
It's 2 in 20 years. I'm not saying this is an everyday occurrence.
It's okay.
But that $1 million, in both cases, they were term insurance, would have made a qualitative difference in their spouse's lives.
Good point. Well, see, these are the kinds of discussions that Joe has at his seminars, and I'll just tell you again, don't forget to go. It's October 6th, October 7th, October 8th. You can get on their website, karplaw.com, Karp Law, and it'll tell you exactly where to go. But it's worth finding them, going, as I said, it's free. Imagine having a lawyer for free talk to you all that time, you won't go wrong with Joe Karp. He's very entertaining. He's very real. We've used him for all our elder law issues, and he's just he's superb. So I can hardly tell everybody to do that. Well, Joe, I have to tell you, it's been wonderful, and I know we're in October. The cool weather's coming. I know you're going to be going on a nice trip, I think, and we're just so thankful that you called in this morning.
Okay, I'm just going to give people a heads up. I've actually been sitting in my car for the last hour because I'm up in Jensen Beach. Because Alzheimer's Association's having the memory walk.
You're great.
At the Indian Riverside Park in Jensen Beach. And next Saturday, for anybody who wants to come, and you'll see us because we wear Karp Commando shirts, we'll be at the memory walk next
We're
Saturday.
over. Thank you, Joe. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Anita.
All right.
Have a great day.
Bye.
Bye-bye.